Check. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes, but wanted to let everybody know we do have a sign-up sheet for anybody who would like to address the committee today. It's over here on the podium, right here on the front. Some of y'all we already have, but if y'all haven't contacted the committee about speaking, please go ahead and sign up again. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry for being a few minutes late, but I was giving members some time. I have texted and called that I've been stuck in traffic, and some that are stuck in traffic have called in and have joined us by phone. And there's a few that have joined us by Zoom as well. So with that being said, I want to welcome everybody today to our third meeting of the Dual Enrollment and Tuition Equalization Grant Ad Hoc Committee of the Higher Education Committee of the House. And before we start, I would like to ask Chairman Dickey if you'll open us in prayer. Chairman Dickey.
Okay, thank you. Let's pray. Our Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to bring us here today, and just bless these members, bless each and every participant here. Just give us the understanding and the discernment that we can make choices what's best for our state of Georgia. We just bless our institutions that teach our children and young people. We're just so thankful for the dedication of our each and every one that takes part in that. Just keep us safe as we travel to and forward. Just lead and guide us as you would have us to do. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as we kick off the meeting, we'll do introductions of members that are here present and that are joining us by phone and Zoom. So we'll start with Chairman Dickey. Introductions.
Oh, introduction.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Robert Dickey, District 145, right in Middle Georgia. I represent parts of 5 counties: Bibb, Houston, Peach, Crawford, and Monroe counties. And glad to be here today, part of this committee. And thank you for chairman this morning.
Representative Mathiak.
Thank you. I'm Chairman Mathiak. I live in Spalding County, represent most of the county there. I represent Hampton and Henry, and in Fayetteville, I represent Woolsey, Brooks, part of Peachtree City, and the southern quadrant of Fayette. I'm a chiropractor by trade, and I'm glad to see all of you guys here. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. Representative Burnell, what number are you?
27.
Good morning. I am State Representative Rhonda Bernot, District 77 in Clayton County. I represent the cities of Riverdale and Forest Park, and I am a retired educator from the Clayton County Public School System.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to who we have on Zoom. Molly, who should we go to? Representative Moore.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Angela Moore. I represent District 91, and that is parts of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Henry County. And I'm so happy to be with you this morning.
Thank you. We're glad you're with us. Representative Barnes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Imani Barnes. I represent House District 86, DeKalb County, Tucker, Clarkston, Stone Mountain, Lithonia, and Stonecrest. Awesome to be here. I've worked for Emory University for 15 years, so it's awesome to be on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Barnes. I took a tour of your district this morning trying to get around traffic on I-20, so I think I saw a lot of it. Representative Jackson. Representative Scoggins.
Good morning, everyone. This is Representative Mitchell Scoggins. I cover District 14, which is part of Bartow County and part of Cherokee County. Glad to be with you today. Hope everything goes well. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Dempsey.
Good morning, Katie Dempsey. I represent Rome and Floyd County, and navigating the traffic, and I hope to be there very soon.
We definitely understand, Chairman. And is there anybody else that's joined us on the phone? We see several call-ins here, but we don't know who the numbers are. So if y'all would like to introduce yourself, please do so now.
Good morning. This is Representative Lydia Glaze, and I represent South Fulton and Coweta, part of Coweta County.
Thank you, Representative. Anybody else on the, I think that's it, Emily. I think that's it that's joined us. So pretty good participation today. We appreciate everybody who joined us by Zoom. And I'm Tim Fleming. I represent House District 114, which is Newton, Morgan, and Jasper counties, just east of Atlanta. But thanks again for everybody being here today. Thank you for our staff for pulling this together. There's always a lot of work that goes into these meetings and preparation for the committee members and getting all the info we need and questions answered from previous meetings. We met just a few weeks ago in Athens, where the committee focused on dual enrollment. We heard from stakeholders then and had some really good discussion, and there was quite a bit of traffic after the meeting amongst members with questions and various comments that staff has been working on. And so the committee has been getting some information on that. So the plan for today is to focus on tuition equalization grants, TEG. We have several stakeholders here that want to speak to the matter. We also have President Lynn Riley. As I told her last meeting, I still have her on my phone as Commissioner Lynn Riley from many years ago when her and I first met. So President Riley from the GSFC here to present this morning, and also be here as the committee has follow-up questions after other presentations are given as well. So we just wanted to let everybody know too, our next meeting will be October 26th. It will be in Statesboro, Georgia, on the campus of Georgia Southern University. We will have access to be able to view the meeting online if you cannot make it. So we'll get all that information out to members as we get closer to the meeting date. And also Representative Patty Bentley has joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
It's no longer Bentley.
Morning, everyone. I'm sorry about that. Let me introduce myself to you. I am Patty Marie Stinson now. Yes, yes, thank you. So please make the corrections in your phones. Patty Marie. Patty Marie is actually my birth name, and I just never was using it, but so I'm using it now. So Patty Marie Stinson, representing House District 150. I've been a member of the General Assembly for 11 years. I've been knowing Commissioner Riley from our days of being county commissioner. So I'm still got the county commissioner in my head. So, but just look forward to hearing from everyone today and see how we can address these issues and move forward. But yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. And my days just to go back to memory lane here, my days going back when I was a county commissioner, Commissioner Riley, I think, was president of ACCG or in some leadership role. One of the officers, when I was going through my training, got elected, and she was a big mentor to me then, as she is now. So many years of friendship and relationship. Appreciate it. But with that being said, I'll turn it over to you, President Riley, to present to us. And I think the presentations, we have packets here, but also will be on the screen too, Molly. Give us 1 second. Hold on one second. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me to join you again today. It's always a pleasure to see so many good friends in public service and so many I've learned so many wonderful things from. Back in August, when this committee met, I gave an overview of the Tuition Equalization Grant Program, and I'm going to give you a quick run through of the same presentation again. Folks that may not have joined us or those that just need a quick reminder of some of the components of the program to lay the stage for others that will speak, just to give a background of how the program has come to be. So the grant program was initiated in statute in 1971, and the Georgia Student Finance Authority, which is one of the 3 entities under the Student Finance Commission umbrella, is responsible for the administration of the program. Each year, the members of the General Assembly, in collaboration with the Governor's Office, establish the award amounts for the tuition equalization grant. And those dollars are funded, or those grants are funded by state general fund appropriations. There are 2 types of private institutions that are eligible to award tuition equalization grants to their students: non-proprietary and proprietary institutions. Non-proprietary is a synonym for nonprofit, and there are certain criteria for nonprofit institutions to be eligible to receive these awards on behalf of their students. And listed on this slide are the different criteria for the nonprofit institutions. The most important one that I want to point out today is the 3rd one on the list, that the nonprofit institution must be accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And as you can read the information in front of you, the other criteria are also critical for eligibility to provide these awards to their students. Proprietary institutions have additional criteria that they must meet. As you'll see on this slide, again, the 2nd bullet is accreditation by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, and that is a requirement for all of the private institutions to be able to award. Students in proprietary institutions to be eligible, it must be a baccalaureate degree granting institution. It may not be a Bible school or college. It must have students that have received a high school diploma, GED, or a degree from an accredited post-secondary institution. And it enrolls students who are eligible for federal Pell Grants. Also, it must have existed in this state for at least 10 years. It must have gone through and approved the ability to operate in the state of Georgia by the Georgia Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission. And today our director of that commission, Kirk Shook, is here, also available for questions if they arise. The for-profit institution must be domiciled and incorporated in the state of Georgia, and it must have met all of these requirements by January 1st of 2011. Students to be eligible for tuition equalization grants must be enrolled full-time at the institutions that are authorized to participate in the program. The students must meet residency requirements. They must maintain satisfactory academic progress as certified by their school. And there is no academic or financial need requirement to receive this program award. Tuition equalization grants are eligible for all students at the private institutions pursuant to meeting all the other eligibility requirements. Award amounts in FY 2024, award amounts were set for students, and it increased from $900 to $1,000 per year. Per semester increase of $50 to $500 per semester. And for those that are on a quarter basis, 3 equal quarter amount awards of $333. This slide is just a representation of the number of students over time. From 1989 through 2023, you can see the change in the number of students that participated in the program over time. And the green line that you see running across this graph indicates by the right side status the amount of the award per semester in each year. You can see back in 1989, it was a flat amount for quite a while at $500. It crept up a bit in the early 2000s, dropped a bit, and then dropped significantly in the Great Recession. So the General Assembly restoring that level in 2024 back to that $500 amount. And this next slide just indicates the dollar amounts per year, total dollars of the awards that were issued for 2 students at all of the eligible participating private institutions. And you can also see some volatility in the total amount as the dollar amounts increased and decreased fairly consistently with the number of students and the award amounts over time. The last slide in this deck today is the award dollars that were awarded for the students at each of the participating schools in FY 2023. Total of $18.5 million was distributed in 2023 to a total of 23,495 students. I will point out that if many may have read recently in the news that the Art Institute of Atlanta has recently closed in the state of Georgia. The Art Institute of Atlanta operated on a on a quarter system, and their quarter ended September 30th, and they closed at the end of that quarter. So no awards will be issued starting there as of October 2nd. We have gone through our systems to ensure that all of the potential awards that may have been in the queue for this quarter starting the 1st of October have now been canceled due to the closure of the school. But I just wanted to make the committee aware that when an eligible institution closes, we will immediately review any pending awards and make sure that they are not issued. Mr. Chairman, I see there's a question. I'm happy to stop. I only have a couple more comments that and I can hold those after.
Sure, wait just a minute. Yeah, go ahead and finish.
Thank you. Last two things I wanted to mention, that the statute that allows the tuition equalization grant participation to the eligible private institution also provides to those institutions the ability to utilize for their students all of the other programs that Student Finance Commission and Student Finance Authority administers. Of course, that includes the Hope Scholarship and Hope Grant programs, dual enrollment programs, and other grant and loan programs that we currently provide. So an eligible institution that receives the ability to participate in tuition equalization grants would also be eligible to have their students apply for all of our other programs as well. And finally, the last thing I would mention before I'd be happy to take some questions is that you and the members of the General Assembly entertained a number of bills in 2023 that looked to make modifications to the eligibility requirements for the tuition equalization grant program. And House Bill 228 was a bill that has received passage in both chambers, but is eligible for action in 2024. And House Bill 228 combined a number of other bills that all were applicable to the tuition equalization grant statute. And I know that there are a number of institutions here today that will be speaking to House Bill 228. And as I mentioned, that bill is eligible for action in the 2024 session. So, Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'm very happy to take any questions.
Thank you, President Riley, and thank you for being here today for the presentation and for questions. And thank you for you and your staff during this process. That's been so responsive to get information and questions answered to us. But I'll start with Representative Mathiak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our illustrious news. Is it true that some of their credits from the Art Institute will not transfer? Can you speak to that? I get worried when our students don't. Yeah. Okay.
Representative Mathiak and Chairman Fleming, if I may invite Director Shook up to the podium and he can speak to his oversight of the institution under discussion.
Mr. Shook, you want to introduce yourself real quick to the committee, what you do?
Sure. I'm Kirk Shook. I'm the Executive Director of the Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission. We are the state agency that regulates all the private colleges, and it's a whole range of those, but Art Institute is one of those. They were an exempt school, and then they had to receive authorization at some point. And at the time of their closure, they were an exempt school as well. So I say all that just to say our agency at the time of closure handles the closure of institutions. We have a tuition guarantee trust fund, which is in statute that we manage, which is there to potentially help students if there is in the event of precipitous closure, in the event that some credits do not transfer. And there are also both institutions that were affected because there was the Art Institute in Atlanta, which had on-ground students, about 375. And then 33 online students who attended Miami International University of Art and Design, which was authorized by our institute, by our agency as well. Both institutions had bonds in this process. So we have potential to try to help some of the students as we go along in this process. So when we were informed of the closure, we were informed that same day that they closed, which was September 23rd is when they made the announcement. So we've been putting in process places for institutions to be able to reach out to us if they want to help students. Several institutions that have talked to us have said that since they're SACS accredited and they're also SACS accredited, that they likely most credits, if not all, should be able to transfer. However, we won't know that until the transfer process happens. So as President Riley mentioned, they are on the quarter system, or they were on the quarter system, Art Institute of Atlanta. So they just ended their term. Most of the institutions, if not all the institutions that have reached out to us with potential teach out options, are on the semester system. So that means that many of these students would not be eligible to start until January. So in the coming months, these students, if they reach out to these institutions, start working with the registrar and their academic offices, they'll be able to determine what of those credits from Art Institute or Miami will transfer to the new institution, and then we'll be able to get a better picture of those things. To give you just an idea, a little bit of context, the last time we had this happen was in 2019 with Argosy University. I just come on when we were handling that. And so we went through the same process. Right now, there is a survey out there. I don't know if you saw in the AJC the other day, but they mentioned that in the article. We have a survey out to the active students that were enrolled at the time. Like I said, just about 400. About 100 students so far have responded to say there were some level of damages. So we're trying to collect that information, get an idea of potential damages, and then be able to move forward with a potential claim process. So still very early on in the stages. We'll know more about the transfer side of things probably within the next 2 months leading up to January. So I would say most students at this point probably do not know what will transfer because from what we were told by Art Institute, They were in the process of finalizing the term grades and would get transcripts out to students. And I don't know if they have mailed those out yet or not, but the students should be getting those finalized transcripts within the next week or so. Then they can take those transcripts to the new institution and then be able to start the transfer credit process.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that information.
Hang right there, Mr. Shook. Representative Brunel had her button hit.
Thank you. My question is Morris Brown considered one of these schools? Because I didn't see them. I was looking, maybe I missed it, looking on the list.
Thank you, Representative. Currently, Morris Brown is not an eligible institution,
Okay,
but they are seeking eligibility through House Bill 228.
okay. And then the other question I had was, which schools are the ones that are on quarters? And so I know it's not the Art Institute anymore, but what other?
I apologize, Representative. I do not know, but we'll be happy to get that information to
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Chairman Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President Riley, you only administer this program, but I want to ask you and really the rest of our committee or anybody else here, I'll just cut to the chase. This is a great program that the legislature has always supported. The governor supported it ever since it was started, 30 years ago or more. And it educates Georgia students. I know some of our other institutions do a lot of out of state, but this is only eligible for Georgia students. Is that right? This program, but why are we not supporting this program at the level we did 20 years ago? You take inflation. I don't know why it's got to this point. Is it something I don't know about, why we've let the state dollars not fund this program as it has in the past? Do you have an answer to that?
Thank you for the question, Chairman Dickey. The best answer I could offer is the other information that I provided to the committee. The Department of Audits and Accounts did a special examination of the program, and we shared that report with you. And one of their findings was that the amount of the award, its effect as far as a percentage of the cost of attendance for these students has declined, as you indicated, because the award amount has stayed relatively flat over time as the world has become more and more expensive. I don't have a better answer on what the rationale has been of why that decision is made year after year, and I would defer to you and your colleagues on maybe answering that question more
Well,
fully.
this looks like, and I understand it back then too, 2008 when we had a recession, everything got cut, but we just didn't, as we came out of that over the last decade and a half, we just hadn't put resources back to this program. And I'm just really appreciate the committee and the chairman kind of highlighting this for this meeting. I realized it last year. I mean, we've been talking about this for quite some time, but I just want to make sure I understand the big picture. And maybe you're going to have some speakers, Mr. Chairman, to do that, but I'm certainly focused on trying to get this. I personally would like us look real hard at trying to get this thing back on a, because I think these institutions do a great job, save money to from in so many other ways, educating our Georgia students. So these are great institutions, and I just think it's a good investment to put some money into. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Great question and great thoughts. I mean, I agree with everything you said, and I think the majority of these members on the committee do as well. I also think that a lot of the members on this committee and the committee as a whole, as higher education committee, either has one of these institutions in their district or touches their district and affects students and constituents in their district. So it's very important. I know I have one in my district. I know many of y'all do as well. So I don't think there's any more questions. President Raleigh, I think everybody online is good, so we're going to move on, but I know you don't hang around with us, and you too, Mr. Shook. Also want to welcome Vice Chairman of the committee, Representative Carter Barrett, join us. I know he was stuck in the great traffic coming down from Cumming, Georgia this morning. So we are going to move on now. We have had several people sign up to speak and address the committee. Several do have presentations that will be presenting to us. They are in your packets in front of you, and they will be put up on the screen. We will start with Miss Jenna Colvin. She is the president of the Georgia Independent College Association, and I think she has a guest with her as well that wants to address the committee as well. So welcome. Hold on 1 minute. Presentation pulled up.
Can I just start by saying thanks to Chairman Dickey, and I agree with everything you said.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So good morning. I'm Jenna Colvin. I'm the president of the Georgia Independent College Association. And joining me today is Harris Wallace, a Georgia citizen, Mercer enrollee, and TEG recipient. When Molly was asking me who might be other stakeholders that would be interested in this conversation, I suggested the students. And so no pressure, Harrison, but you're here on behalf of all 23,000 TEG recipients. I'm going to start by talking just for a few minutes about the association and our colleges and the TEG. And then I'm going to turn over the mic to Harrison and let him share a little bit about his story and his experience with the TEG. So this slide shows a little bit of information about our institutions and the association. We're a voluntary association. To be members in our association, you have to be a nonprofit organization. You have to be accredited by SACS, and you have to be based in Georgia. Our oldest institution was founded in 1831, and our youngest college was founded in 1974. I think Representative Mathiak is an alumnus of that institution. We serve over 70,000 students and have 23,000 employees in Georgia, and we inject $4.1 billion in salaries and wages into the Georgia economy. You can see from the yellow bar that our institutions approach the endeavor from a variety of different missions and types. We've got research institutions, faith-related colleges, single-gender institutions, and HBCUs. Many of our colleges are recognized in U.S. News and World Report rankings every year, and so we're obviously proud of those successes. This slide shows you a little bit about our students. You can see that there's a rich demographic diversity among our students, and we are also proud to serve over 40% of our students, or 40% of our students are Pell Grant recipients. Pell Grant is a federal student aid program for low-income students. You can see on the bar graph on the right, the family incomes of those students. On the next slide, I'm channeling my inner Lynn Riley here because I didn't realize that we were going to be talking about a few of the same items, but the TEG statute is broken into two parts, one for nonprofit colleges and one for for-profit institutions. All of the GICA colleges shown in the first two columns are regulated under Section A or eligible under Section A. And then, that's it. So Jet Tony, who's in the audience, has been our lobbyist for over 30 years. And so if you want some historical context, he might be a good resource for that. One of the things that I learned from Jet when I started in this role was that this program was created with bipartisan sponsors and required a constitutional amendment. So back in 1970, the Georgia voters approved the constitutional amendment, and then the General Assembly passed the authorizing statute for this program. When it was set up in 1971, the award amount was 75% of the tuition and fees at UGA. And the stated purpose of the statute was to provide assistance for Georgia citizens who chose to go to private colleges. And as Chairman Dickey noted, it also reduces the cost to taxpayers. In 1982, the program was expanded to provide a grant to students attending out-of-state colleges near the Georgia border if there was no USG college within 50 miles. In 2011, that modification was sort of retired, and there was also a new language put in that would cap additional for-profit colleges from being approved. This is the actual statutory purpose language, and you'll see that it focuses in on exactly what Chairman Dickey observed. And that is that when a Georgia student chooses a private college, it saves the state, or it saves taxpayers funding in USG formula, funding USG MMR, R&R, and in the capital budgets, because obviously any buildings built on our campuses are financed by the colleges themselves. This slide shows the TEG award amount over time from 1989 to 2004. I graduated from high school in 1989. I'm 52 years old last week, and the award amount today is the same as it was when I would have graduated from high school. This slide, I'm not going to belabor it, but this compares the TEG award amount adjusted for inflation to the UGA tuition and fees over time. So you can see, although we started at 75% of the UGA tuition and fees, over time we lost that connection with UGA and the award amount has held flat. This slide is very similar to the one that Lynn just shared with you. It shows enrollment in yellow and total program budget in blue. You can sort of see some of the 1982 modification led to, an uphill trend in the award in the program budget. And then in 2011, you had both the impact of the Great Recession and the program modification to narrow. Okay, so this slide, there's there's a person who has my job in almost every state in the country, and we all look at and advocate for student aid programs for students attending private colleges. So I surveyed my colleagues in other states to see what the student aid packages look like for students attending private colleges in other states. This chart shows you what it looks like compared to our neighbors. So from an individual award amount, if you're a student, a Georgia student who chooses to attend a private college in Georgia, you're eligible to receive the TEG award and the Hope Scholarship if you earn it, right? So this chart shows whether the state offers a TEG type of program, whether they have a lottery type program, and whether they have a need-based program, what collectively that looks like for an individual recipient. Is I think one of the answers, I'm not sure, but I think one of the answers to why hasn't this program grown is I think that there was the idea that in the early Hope years, that when you added TEG to Hope, that was a really good benefit and we didn't need to do any more. I don't know if that but when I talk to folks about this program and I start talking about other states, I get the response, well, they don't have a Hope Scholarship. So to figure out if that was actually happening, I went and gathered the data on whether you have a Hope program or a lottery funded program or a TEG-like program, or if you offer a needs-based aid program. What does a student aid package look like from your state if you're from one of the surrounding states? And that's what's reflected on this chart. This I used last legislative session, and so it hasn't been updated to reflect any increases. And there were some in both the TEG award amount and in the Hope award amount. So thank you for adding those. We'll be updating this chart for next session. But I thought also talking to my colleagues, their bars are moving to the right too. So this next slide shows why it's important. So the SREB fact book on higher education shows that Georgia has the lowest home state college attendance rate in this SREB region. That means of all the states in the South, fewer Georgians are choosing to go to college in Georgia than in our neighboring states. The TEG could be an important factor for keeping those students at home. So, for example, in 2011, we know that 37% of TEG recipients also earned the Hope or Zell Miller Scholarship. Since 2011, that number has increased over 20%. So so now 57%, this is in the Department of Audit's performance review, 57% of the students who receive the TEG also get Hope or have earned Hope or Zell. So the TEG plus Hope and Zell is an important tool in keeping Georgians home for college. It's also important for workforce development. The performance audit found that 75% of the TEG recipients were employed in Georgia 10 years after graduation. This slide, similar to the last slide, comes from the SREB fact book and shows that of our surrounding states, Georgia is the only state with a net loss of first-time students. So you can see our other schools have a net gain and are importing students from other places, maybe here. And you can also see statistically, we have a significantly higher number of students, first-time students, taking out loans than our neighboring states. That's the end of my presentation. I'm going to hand it over to Wallace. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Good morning. My name is Harris Wallace. I'm a student at Mercer University. And in addition to that, I'm a legacy student at Mercer University. Both my mother and my father attended the school, and that's actually where they met. So I think it's fair to say that if Mercer was not around, I would not be around. So this morning, I just want to share with you some of my experiences I've had going through the admissions process, including several public institutions and private institutions in the state, and give you some of my insight in terms of the experience I've had so far being at Mercer, and how I think that's reflective of a lot of my fellow Mercerians and my peers in other private institutions around the state. So basically, my college admissions process started my junior year, pretty much like everybody else with taking the SAT, which is an experience in and of itself. But I knew from the very beginning that I was only going to be applying to schools in the state of Georgia for the very reason that the scholarship funding that's given to in-state students by the state is just simply couldn't pass that up. And so I applied to 5 schools. I applied to Emory, Georgia College and State University, the University of Georgia, Oglethorpe University, and of course, Mercer University. And when all was said and done, it became very clear that Mercer University was the place where I was meant to be. Not only did it come with the lowest cost, in no small part thanks to the tuition equalization grant, but it also came with a community like none of the others on the campuses I had visited. At UGA with over 30,000 students. My older brother is at UGA. No shade thrown to the dogs at all, but a huge institution and huge campus, and I just knew that that would not be the right place for me. But when I went and visited at Mercer, I realized that what I was missing at UGA existed at Mercer, and I eventually chose to go to Mercer, and in that part of that process was considering the finances of it, as I think is a part of every student's process, is determining, is it financially viable to go to Mercer? I think the day that I got my final scholarship award amount, which of course included the tuition equalization grant, I showed my mom. She said, well, you got it close enough to UGA that we can make this work. And I think that's indicative of the experience that a lot of students are going through who are trying to apply to private institutions in the state. Is those private institutions are only going to be accessible to them whether they're taking out student loans or not. If their parents, who are their primary financial backers, can look at that and say that it's a good financial investment as compared to state institutions. And the simple fact of the matter is, it was in my case, but it's not in every case. And even in my case, going to Emory was far out of reach. And so the tuition equalization grant is something that really helps to narrow that gap. My mom went to Mercer in a time period where she was also a recipient of the tuition equalization grant, and she went through that her own process with her parents. She also got admitted to UGA and Mercer and had to sit down and have the same conversation with her mother that I had with her. And ultimately the finances is a lot of what determines whether or not students are able to attend the tuition of their choice and the one where they think they'll have the most benefit. And I can without a doubt say that in my 3 months so far at Mercer, I'm a freshman student, that the benefit I've gained by going to Mercer has been immense. In just my first few months, I'm already about to begin an on-campus job with Mercer Center for Career and Professional Development. I'm well connected with Mercer's collegiate mock trial team. And in fact, in a couple of weeks, we're coming up here to compete at Emory. And so another tuition equalization grant participating school. And so through those two programs, I'm really being enriched a lot. But I also want to talk about the classroom experience. And the fact of the matter is that Mercer, what we are ranked for highest is in-classroom instruction. We are ranked higher than Vanderbilt for in-classroom instruction, according to U.S. News and World Report. We are ranked higher than many of our peers around the state. And so going into Mercer and knowing that was what I had waiting for me, that was one of the most exciting features, and it has not disappointed. I think my favorite class right now is Intro to Political Theory, which, since I'm a philosophy, politics, and economics major, hoping to go into studying law, that is a critical class for me to be in. We just finished our reading of Aristotle's Politics. And if you want an answer as to whether or not this grant is working, as to whether or not it's motivating students to not only go to private institutions, but when they graduate, stay in Georgia, I just want to note that in Aristotle's Politics, he talks about the virtues. And those virtues are wisdom, justice, and moderation. And it was not lost to me that those are the same virtues as the motto of this state. And so going into an institution that clearly values teaching students at that very personal level, getting to know my professors very well, and having friends at UGA who I know are not having the same experience one way or the other, has really put me in the position of knowing that I made the right choice in going to Mercer. And I would want any other student who applies to Mercer and hopes to be a Mercer Bear to be able to do that, as well as any other student who applies to any of the other member colleges with the same beliefs about it that I had, that this would be the right place for them. As we saw before, Mercer received over $3 million in funding from the tuition equalization grant through the benefit to its students. And I've met one person from Mississippi, a couple from Florida, but in large part, the vast majority of students who I've met are who are students at Mercer are Georgia residents, the vast majority. And there's not a single one of them who is there, who I've met, who have not expressed the sentiment that they're there because it made the most financial sense for them to go to a private institution. And when you get on campus the first few weeks, that sounds kind of backwards. You're at a private school because it's the most financially viable choice. But the fact of the matter is, for many students at Mercer, that is the case. That they compared their options between a state school and a private institution. And it not only made sense because that's where they wanted to go to receive their education, but the finances made sense. And that is in no small part, certainly because of the tuition equalization grant. I have a close community of students in our honors class, and at least 90%, if not more, said that they were at Mercer because they wanted the personal level of instruction, and it was paired with financial viability for their families. So as you go on to consider what would be next for the tuition equalization grant, I just hope that you'll consider that it's not only impactful for the finances of every student, but it's also impactful for allowing each and every student who goes through the selection process and goes through the admissions process at our schools here in the state of Georgia. It's impactful for them in knowing that they have the ability to choose the school they want to go to. And the unfortunate reality is that it's not that way for everybody. Not everybody is able to square the finances and make that work. And the tuition equalization grant at this point simply can't bridge that gap for everybody. But obviously our hope is that it gets to the point and it can bridge that gap so that the best schools in this state for those individual people are accessible to them. Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Harris. We really appreciate you being with us this morning and addressing the committee. And Ms. Colvin, thank you. And hold on, we do have some questions. First, I'd like to welcome Chairman Dempsey for being here. I know she was on the phone, but caught by traffic this morning as well. So welcome. So we will go to Representative Burnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for coming and ask you, are your parents watching you this morning?
I do not know. I've texted them the link and we'll see. My dad actually recently left the University System of Georgia, where he was doing communications, and he's now at Oglethorpe. So he's probably on the campus of one of our participant institutions right now, doing their enrollment marketing. But I know my mom is at home and hopefully watching.
Oh, you did a great job. Thank you.
I asked Molly to take a picture that I was
Oh.
going to send to his dad.
Okay.
I think she got plenty of pictures. You did. Any other questions?
Yeah, quick one.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman. Like, appreciate you coming. Mercer is right in my backyard and does a great job in so many different areas, from law school and especially training our rural physicians to go out in Georgia. And I think I've been told by President Underwood, I think 90% of our total students at Mercer are in-state Georgia students. And I'm just really I'm proud of that figure. I wish some of our other public institutions could get a little closer to that number. But my question quickly is, what other grants, scholarships did you take advantage of to come to Mercer?
So excellent question. The primary ones, in addition to the tuition equalization grant, was Zell Miller recipient as well. And so that obviously plays a part. And then the rest of the financial aid I was able to take advantage of came directly from Mercer. And so it was the aid that Mercer offers, and Mercer offers financial aid to over 99% of the students who enroll on campus. And so that was what allowed me to close the gap. And that was also the difference between what allowed me to close the gap at Mercer and be able to attend Mercer, which was ultimately my number one choice, and what made the gap at Emory so wide, being that I received the tuition equalization grant and I received Zell and Miller help, but I did not get any financial aid directly from the institution. And I think that sentiment is probably shared amongst many of my peers.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Thank you, Harris. Appreciate y'all being with us this morning. All right, we are going to move on to Chamberlain University. I believe we have Dr. Sean Little. He's president of Chamberlain University's College of Nursing, Georgia campus. Nope. Yes, come on. Sorry. Yep. Now, do you have a presentation? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Dr. Little. All right, great. Thank you.
So, hi, good morning. Thank you, guys. So first of all, I do want to say it's my birthday, so please be nice. And I also want to say that because it's my birthday, we should just do everything I want, right? Happy birthday. And I was also initiated the same year that tuition equalization grant was, 1971. It was a good year. So first of all, my name is Sean Little. I am the campus president for Chamberlain Atlanta, as well as Chamberlain Stockbridge. We just opened up a new campus in Stockbridge so that we can help build nurses within the state a little further south. I'm also the president of the deans and directors for all of the nursing schools within the state, as well as part of the Georgia Nurses Foundation and a member of Georgia Nurses Association. I was humbled and fortunate to be able to be part of Governor Kemp's healthcare workforce, and learned a lot through that. In looking at our own sphere, we see that there is obviously a very huge impact to the nursing shortage within the state. But sitting on that commission, I realized it's a workforce issue in all sectors. It's not just nursing. What I do is I look at healthcare within the state and understanding that we need nurses, we need nursing assistants, we need phlebotomists, we need EMTs, we need every aspect of the healthcare profession. We need housekeepers, right? In presenting to Senator Albert's commission a couple of weeks ago about workforce solution, we looked at solution. How can we solve the workforce issues and the shortages within the state, including rural? The big discussion that we had was TEG. That came up a lot. In looking at our student population, I can speak primarily for my students. These are students that can't wait 4 years to go to a traditional nursing school. My school is only for nurses. That's all we do. We graduate with a bachelor's degree in nursing science. We are located within the state of Georgia. Our students are 25, 35-year-olds, single parent, 3 kids, working 40 hours a week. These are students that can't necessarily attend a 4 or 5 year college. I'm a graduate from Kennesaw State University. At the time, they were the best nursing school within the state. But with that said, it took me 5 years to get a 4-year degree. I was on a wait list, right? I was number 17. I felt really proud about it. There were like 300 students that applied, so I thought 17 was pretty good. With that said, we don't have a wait list. So my students, it's direct entry. They get into the program. If they get into the program, they finish within 3 years. Some of them finish in 2.5 years and then become working members of our society and our state. Providing them that opportunity is important to me. Our student demographic, very diverse, 65% African-American. Our goal is to make sure that all students within the state have access to an education. I would like to see the tuition equalization grant afforded to all private institutions within the state. Representative Dempsey's House bill is very important to all of our students. I don't have a Harris that can sit up here and talk about it because none of my students qualify. They're still attending. It's not going to increase my benefit. It's not going to increase Chamberlain's overall profit in any way. It's just going to help our students that are already there and attending. And the hope is that that little bit of income, because when you look at it, the $400, $1,000 a year, that's really not going to touch the debt that a lot of students are going to have after graduation. However, it does help them with gas. It helps them with food. It helps them with rent so that they can not have to work the 40 hours a week to be able to focus on their studies. I think a nice question for Harris would have been, how many hours do you work a week? 10. Tuition equalization grant, I'm assuming, helps him to do that. I would like to see that opportunity for all students within the state, not just mine. In order to build a workforce, we have to have the opportunity for students to attend college, whatever that looks like for them. Parents do make a big impact. My daughter chose the school based on the financial burden that it would put our family under. She stayed within the state of Georgia, attended Gwinnett Technical Institution. So earlier, one of the presenters had put up the purpose statement for the TEG, and I do want to just read that for just a moment. It says the TEG program results from recognition that accredited private and independent colleges and universities located within the state of Georgia can be used more effectively in the public interest by granting financial assistance to citizens who choose to attend such colleges and universities. I think it's important that we go back to the foundation of why this was instituted. It's been around for many years, right? Let's go back to the purpose and intent of it and see if we can refocus our energies on that. There have been a lot of changes made to this bill. Who gets it, who shouldn't get it, what type of student should qualify, what type of student shouldn't qualify. I would like for us to look at how we can support our workforce and helping to support our students financially. That was all that I had.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Little. A few questions, if you don't mind. You said y'all had 2 campuses. You said Atlanta, and I missed the second one. You said south of Atlanta.
Stockbridge. We
Stockbridge.
just opened one in Stockbridge in September. So
Okay.
we accepted our first class. We expected 40 students. We had 69.
That's great.
Mhm.
How many students do y'all have as a whole in Georgia?
Within the state of Georgia, my Atlanta campus right now, we range between 1,300 and 1,400 students in the program.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Last question. What is your nursing licensure pass rate for licensing?
So for the 4-year pass rate that we have, we're at 86%, I believe. In the past year, in 2021, Emory had the highest number of students sit for their boards for their BSN of nursing. Chamberlain had second highest. I forget who the third one was. Out of the same top 5 producers of nurses for 2021, Kennesaw State had the highest pass rate for their boards, and Chamberlain had the second highest pass rate for the boards out of the top 5 producers.
Okay.
Last year, across the nation, everybody's pass rates dropped a little bit due to COVID and clinical experience during that pandemic. So our pass rates did drop a little bit. But on average, we're between 88 to 90% pass rate
Okay, great. Thank you. You do have a few questions. We'll start with Chairman Dempsey.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate, I can't even tell y'all how many times Sean has been to the Capitol and presented and sometimes waited to present and then the meeting didn't happen or they ran out of time. So I want to thank you once again for being here and for telling your story. I know as we talk about the new campus opening up in Stockbridge and in Atlanta, the question that came up repeatedly was also, why is there no wait list? And I want to give you the opportunity to explain that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And this has been a very big learning experience. So we only do nursing. So we don't have any other programs to compete with. All of our tuition, all of our revenue goes back into our students. So if I have more students that want to come in and per the Board of Nursing, you need, so many faculty, we hire any faculty to come in. We make sure we have the resources available. We do not want a student to not be able to come into a program because of lack of resources. So not only do we provide them the opportunity in the space, but we also have resources that students can access either virtually, in person, they can come to our campus. We are brick and mortar. I know there was a lot of rumor that we're online. We do have online programs throughout the nation, but in Georgia, we are brick and mortar. But we don't have to compete with math majors or business majors or any other major. We're all nursing. So as we get more students, we hire in more colleagues and resources that are available.
To me too, what that speaks to is many of the same sort of functionality systems that we're developing in manufacturing.
Mhm.
It's like as needed, not having a lot of materials setting to the side when you're building a car. It's the same way for developing our nurses and healthcare system, that if they want to be there and they can financially do it, they would.
Yes.
And that is a powerful statement to me as I've worked on this measure for several years. It's important to kind of grasp the difference that our university system, colleges and universities, and our technical colleges are all trying to increase capacity everywhere across the board. Our private colleges are also trying to do it, but our needs are so great in our state, in our neighboring states as well. So if we were to ever flood the market so much, the job opportunities will always be there. But there is such a huge need for these nurses. And to think that you have the ability to do it, I think it's just so important that we're having this discussion and understanding some of the barriers to doing it that have existed, and for this committee to look and see if there are some ways we can adjust and perhaps help that. So I want to thank you once again for being here, for the great work you're doing with the students that you have and helping to increase that really, really needed workforce that we're all challenged with across the whole state. Also, I want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have in some of the presentation that we gave to Senator Albers, Georgia is planned to be 20% under healthcare capacity based on projections and retirement and growth of population. We're going to be 20% less in healthcare workforce than what we need, just the nurses. That's just nursing. That's not counting all the other healthcare aspects. That's why this is so important for us to be able to support.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's see, here we go. Representative Stinson. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Little, for being here, and happy birthday to you as well. And thank you for your presentation. And I must say, I'm sorry that this is my very first time hearing about your institution, but I'm glad to learn about it because there is a big shortage of nurses right now in the state. How many hours of apprenticeship is required to become a nurse in the state of Georgia?
So the Board of Nursing does not regulate how many hours a registered nurse would need for a bachelor's degree. Each school presents that information. Chamberlain does 672 experiential learning hours. So that is in clinical simulation. We do 25% simulation. We can make a mannequin have a heart attack. They frown upon that when you do it to a patient in the hospital. So we like to be able to have the high fidelity simulation, but 672 hours.
And that's apprenticeship? Do they have to, are nurses required to go through apprenticeship program?
So it's a clinical.
In order to get
rotation.
their certification?
Yeah, so they have to attend clinical hours
Uh-huh.
throughout the entire program. And we do everything from adult health, pediatrics, mother, baby, mental health, community. And they'll complete those hours throughout the last 2 years of their program.
And that's where the 672 come in?
672 hours.
Okay.
And each school has typically anywhere between 450 to 650 hours. Again, bachelor programs, the schools do dedicate or determine what their hours are going to be.
So once a person actually received their certification to become a nurse in the state of Georgia, is there any additional hours that they're required to receive after they receive their certification?
So once a student completes the bachelor's program,
Mhm.
they do sit for their state board examination. It's their NCLEX. That is determined by the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Our Georgia State Board oversees that.
Mhm.
Once they take their licensure and pass their boards, from then they have to meet, continuing education requirements and other requirements set by the State Board of Nursing in order to keep that license active.
Great. But they do have to have 672 hours to sit for the state board.
If
for the
they're a
board.
graduate from Chamberlain University. Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We got a few more questions. Dr. Little, but a question has come up. What is y'all's tuition?
For credit hour, I'd have to look at the exact, I think it's 700 per credit hour.
Okay, what's an annual average that you could,
I would have to get that to you.
okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
We're gonna go to Representative Burnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Little, for your presentation and happy birthday. However, your new campus is in Stockbridge and I represent Clayton County, which means I represent Clayton State. And so, does that mean now that you're in competition? Because, we have a really good nursing school there also.
No, the nice thing about what we do is we represent within the state. There are so many students, we should not impact any of our sister schools. That was something that we looked at when we were looking at location and where we would best suit. Because there's also Southern Crescent Tech right there that has an associate's degree program as well. We do not anticipate impact. I work with Dwayne a lot on different areas within the Georgia Nurses Foundation and Georgia Nursing Association and Workforce Solutions. So I feel like we won't have any impact there.
Okay, thank you.
It is a good school. To answer, I can give you overall program cost if that would help.
Sure,
Versus,
that'd be great. Yeah.
yeah, if they do all of their program with us, it can range anywhere between 86 to 88,000 for the entire program.
For the entire program.
Entire program.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to Chairman Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you being back and testifying here. And I'm going to follow up a little bit on what Chairman Dempsey was asking. I know she's very passionate, all of us, about a nursing shortage here in Georgia. Just had a meeting with our hospital in Macon, Piedmont, and number one issue, believe it or not, was not CON. It was nursing shortage. It was staffing shortage. They've got beds sitting empty in hospitals because of the staffing shortage. And we've been told something you said about you can increase capacity as the need arises for more students wanting to go in that program. But we've been told for years by USG that they cannot hire more faculty to teach our nursing program. And the reason they have not been able to increase capacity at USG schools through the years is faculty shortage. But how are you in your institution able to do that? I just wanted to highlight that interesting thing you said.
There are so many facets to that question. It comes down to there is a nursing shortage. That means there's also a faculty shortage. How we can support our students, there are opportunities with our Board of Nursing to work with them a little on rules and regulations related to faculty that would help all nursing schools within the state, private or public. Right now, you have to have a 1 to 25, one student to 25, one faculty to 25 student ratio per the Board of Nursing. And they just increased that. It was 1 to 20.
Good.
And we're grateful for that. But it's full-time faculty. You can have part-time faculty that work with you every session, that work with your students in clinical, but you can't count them within that numbers. So it's hard to meet that ratio. For hiring in, it depends on the school's requirements. If it's a BSN or master's or doctorate prepared, some folks just want to teach and just want to do clinical. They don't necessarily want to do the scholar and the research component of it. There are faculty out there. I have open positions right now to meet that 1 to 25 ratio. And in probably the last 2 months, I've hired 8.
Wow.
So there are people that want to do that. That also goes back to the shortage though, because now we're pulling them from the bedside. We're pulling them from patient care to teach. And that's okay. Because we need those experienced nurses teaching our new nurses. That's how progression works.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I think we have on Zoom Representative Moore that has a question. Representative Moore?
I don't have a question. I just had a comment. I am the representative for Stockbridge, Georgia, and I'm so proud to have you all in my district, and I'm there for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Representative. Well, Dr. Little, thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for presenting to the committee some very useful information. And if we have any follow-up, we'll make sure to get in touch with you. But thank you for being with us and happy birthday. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Also, it's my birthday too, so happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday. All right, next we have South College. We have Mr. Josh Huffaker and Brad Adams. They're joining us and tell us about their institution right here in Atlanta, not far from us. So welcome, and please introduce yourselves for the record. And I think y'all have a presentation as well. And give us 1 second. And is the clicker down there, Josh? Okay.
It is.
All right.
Just hit the next button. Perfect.
It's all y'all. Thank y'all.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. And yes, we did bring several individuals today. This is a conversation that's certainly important to us, and we want to make sure we had everybody here that could answer any questions that may come up. So we'll start off. Brad, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having us. Brad Adams, Chief Operating Officer here at South College.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. Kim Hall, and I am the Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement and Effectiveness for South College.
Thank you both. And Chairman Fleming, thank you as well for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. And I think we'd like to thank the committee also. This is, I guess, the 3rd or 4th time I've been up here to present, and it's always a pleasure being up here. So thank you guys on an off session day for coming and spending some time with us. My goal today is to tell you a little bit about South College, who we are, what we do, more specifically about the Atlanta campus, speak to TEG in particular and why we do not qualify today, and then just give you some information on why we think that South College and our students should be eligible for this program. To start here, South College history. So South College was founded in 1882 as Knoxville Business College. In 2000, we obtained regional accreditation from the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, more commonly referred to as SACS. 2002 changed the name to South College from Knoxville Business College, as programs are no longer as focused on business as what they were previously. Today, South College is a SACS COC level 6 degree granting institution, which is the highest level you can obtain within SACS COC. And it means that you're approved to offer 4 or more doctoral level programs. So I've listed several there in the presentation, but to give you an idea of some of the higher level programs we offer: Doctorate of Pharmacy, CRNA program, Doctorate of Physical Therapy. So some really high-end doctoral programs. South College today is offering more than 100 programs and concentrations from the certificate to the doctoral level, and serve students on 8 campuses across 6 different states. Okay. All right, next here, more specifically on South College Atlanta. So today, actually, we kicked off our fall 2023 term, which really starts our 5th year of true operation. So we were approved in April 2018 from Mr. Shook's organization, the Georgia Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission to open our campus in Atlanta. We enrolled our first students in October of 2018 with roughly 37 students. Today, we're serving roughly 1,300 students in our undergraduate and graduate student population. I think it's important to note, as Dr. Little mentioned, just the workforce shortage in our state, not just in nursing, but in all healthcare programs across the state. We're here in Atlanta, we're 100% healthcare focused. So programs such as nursing, we have a BSN program, an ASN program, and an LPN program. Imaging sciences, so sonography, radiography, medical assisting, surgical technology. We have a doctorate of physical therapy program here in town, as well as a master's level physician assistant studies program. So those 1,300 students are going to be made up of several different programs from the certificate through the doctoral level. In the 2022-2023 academic year, we had 313 graduates, which for an institution still in the really early infancy phases is certainly something we're proud of, and a number we'll know that will continue to progress. Today, we're one of only 14 private and public SAC COC level 6 institutions with a campus in Georgia, and the only level 6 SAC COC proprietary institutions. So South College is a proprietary institution. We're one of 11 that SAC COC accredited, and we're the only proprietary level 6 institution. And something that's mentioned and always gets asked is tuition and fees. And I think it's important to note that our tuition and fees are lower than 70% of the other institutions that are receiving TEG today. Okay, next on the tuition equalization grant, and I sincerely appreciate President Riley getting an opportunity to speak to a little bit of the history there. But really what I want to point out today is there's, as been noted, there's really two different criteria that you can fall under to be approved for TEG. The first one is subparagraph A that speaks to the non-proprietary institutions. If you look at everything on the left quadrant here, which is the non-proprietary institutions, South College is going to meet every single one of those with the exception of being non-proprietary. So we are SAC COC accredited, which is certainly something that the state has put in high regard. On the proprietary side, once again, we meet every one of those definitions with the exception of the fact that we've not existed in the state for at least 10 years, and we did not meet all of those requirements by January 1, 2011, which is something that we will never be able to do. And I also want to note, I think it's important for the committee to know that today, to our knowledge, there is not a single institution that's meeting this definition of TEG through the proprietary side today. We are the only SAC COC private institution with a location in Georgia. I'm sorry, proprietary private institution with a location in Georgia. Okay, and then next here, why we should be an approved institution, and more importantly, why our students should gain access to this opportunity and this funding. So Senate Bill 137 was submitted last session and is still alive on the House side. That was a bill to amend Code Section 20-311 to revise the definition of an approved school. I want to say again, the main talking point here is South College has the same SAC COC accreditation as the other institutions that are currently receiving TEG. We're the only SAC COC accredited private non-Bible college with a physical location in Georgia that is not eligible. And that's going to be both for non-proprietary and proprietary institutions. Again, we're a level 6 accredited institution through SACS, which only 5 of the other 33 schools receiving TEG today can say. The last 2 points to me are the most important. Our students in Atlanta, located here in Georgia, in Chamblee, District 83, they're pursuing programs that are filling the workforce needs in our state. Again, that's not just nursing, but several different healthcare fields. We continue to look at what are the needs of our communities and how can we help fill it. For our roughly 1,300 students, I can very confidently say that of our undergraduate population, 100% of those live in Georgia, work in Georgia, that we're not a commuter school, or we are a commuter school. I'm sorry, we don't have housing. Our students live here, they work in the community, they stay in the community once they graduate. And then finally, something that got brought up, I think, in last session that's just very important to note is TEG funding does not go to South College. It goes to South College students. This is money that's available to them or hopefully would be available to them to help them offset their educational expenses, to help lower their federal debt burden. It's not dollars that go to South College to help us. It goes to our students to help them find those opportunities to fill the needs that they have, both the challenges academically as well as in life. Okay, then finally, just an appendix slide here, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this, but I just wanted to include just some information on our enrollment by discipline. This is for the summer 2023 term, to give you a good sense of what programs our roughly 1,300 students are in. And one thing I do want to point out, and you can see in the footnote here, is 1,300 students does not necessarily mean that all 1,300 of those are going to be TEG eligible students. It depends on the program they're in, whether they're full-time, part-time. So we've also included what the students that are in TEG eligible programs would look like. I've also included some examples of certification pass rates for 2022 or 2023 year to date where applicable. And then finally, we've been working with Georgia Student Finance Commission to get a sense of what would the overall impact to the budget be. We've provided President Riley and her team our breakdown of enrollment by program, part-time, full-time, for them to generate the estimate that's been provided in this packet. And with that, I'll just open up to any questions, and then just say we're 10 miles north on I-85. I would love to have be able to sit down and answer any questions if you do have any one-on-one, or invite you to campus. We have just a wonderful operation, a lot of exciting things going on, and today's kicking off the fall term. I'm more than happy to meet anybody that would like to come see what all we're doing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for being here with us this morning. And I do have a few questions that I want to ask, and I think some of it's in your slides, but you mentioned that y'all's tuition and fees are lower than 70% of other institutions approved for TEG. What is your tuition on an annual basis?
Yes, sir.
I know it might vary by program, but
it's going to vary by program. We generally speaking have a tier 1 or a tier 2 tuition level. For the tier 1 tuition, the total annual fees are going to be tuition and fees, $17,385. And then for a tier 2 program, it's going to be $21,810 on an annual basis.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think this might be on your last slide, but I really can't really see it. I'll make sure, because I asked Dr. Little about what is their nursing licensure pass rate. Is that what this last slide is saying? That's 95.2%?
It is, yes, sir. So for the BSN program for the 2022 calendar year, our first time NCLEX RN pass rate was 89.7%. 2023 year to date, that's as of the end of August, it's 95.2%. And then for our LPN program, 2022 calendar year, 86.9%, and 2023 year to date, 98.1%.
That's great. Good numbers.
Thank you.
All right, I'll turn it over to the committee, see if there's any questions from committee members here. All right, I think Chairman Dempsey has a question. Madam Chair.
Yeah, to follow up on what you said, is that the, and thank you for being here
Yes,
and
ma'am.
telling your story. It's a good one. I appreciate
Thank
it. The, is this the passage certification rates, or is this the licensure rate? Like, because there's a very different,
This is the first time NCLEX RN pass rate,
so this is passage from your school, your institution.
the licensure pass rate.
Oh, is the licensure side?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the last presentation, we didn't hear that anyone was doing 98.1% in licensure for nursing. Is that, I'm just trying to understand that
Are
disparity.
you referring to Dr. Little's presentation?
Yes.
So the 98.1% first is going to be for our LPN program. The
Okay.
95.2% is going to be for our BSN program. And that's year-to-date numbers that those don't get published by the Georgia Board of Nursing until it'll probably be early of 2024 when those will be published. So that's where we are trending today. So
when the comparison for BSN licensure, not passage, from Chamberlain was brought forward, and I believe she said it was 86%.
That's correct.
And Emory was above that, but y'all's numbers are showing that you're above that. What, I'm just trying to understand.
yeah, absolutely.
difference in
So I
reporting.
believe the number Dr. Little reported was the 4-year average for Chamberlain. Is that
Okay.
correct? Okay. It was the 4-year average. So for us, this 95.2% is not going to be a number, correct, 1 year, and it's not going to be a number that's published yet. It will be published by the Georgia Board of Nursing in January of 2024 for the 2023 calendar year. So I can't speak to how Chamberlain's
What they-
trending or Emory.
Or Emory, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Or the other schools. But so if you look at the 4-year passage rate, I'm sure you're probably very close, but maybe not quite that high. We've all were impacted a little bit by the COVID issues too. Do you have any idea what your 4-year?
You are
rate would
correct.
be?
We would not be that high on the 4-year, but we've not produced 4 years of graduates yet.
Okay.
Being in the state for 5 years, and of course, the approval process from the Board of Nursing and the graduating
Sure.
cohort. So our first graduating students were in 2021.
Okay.
And then 2022 was our first full year of NCLEX RN takers.
So you're 2. Do you have any idea what the 2-year?
I want to say the 2-year, we can pull it up, but I want to say it's just over 85%
Okay.
for the
so-
2-year average.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Great.
And I'm happy to get that concrete number if you would like.
I think you're doing a good job. I'm not worried about it. I'm just trying to understand
No, of
the
course.
disparity in those numbers and the reporting.
Just the timing in the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Vice Chairman Barrett.
So thank you for that great presentation. And distinguishing between where the money goes. Does it go to the school? Does it go to the students? How do you anticipate as an approved institution, how will things look different with 1,300 students now? Do you expect, is it going to be a meaningful impact on enrollment, or is it just a quality of life? Those students are now able to dedicate themselves more to the work, or?
Yes, sir.
what do you
Absolutely.
anticipate?
I don't expect to have it, there really to be a noticeable difference in an increase in enrollment. I think that it gives our students access to funding that they don't have today. I think it gives them the ability to not only be eligible for TEG, but then also for the HOPE scholarship for those that are eligible. We serve a very different student demographic that generally speaking is going to be more of your non-traditional students. So HOPE we don't expect to be a big piece of the funding for our students, but for the TEG, I think it's really just helping them to more effectively afford their education. Absolutely.
Thank you for the question. To add to that, we at South College has not had a nursing tuition increase in the past 6 years. So tuition is very important to us in keeping our programs at a low cost. And this money, as I'm sure you've seen in the news, with the student debt burden, the federal debt burden, and the potential write-offs, this lowers that federal debt burden that a student would have to borrow. And so the impact is really going to be those students who graduate from South College and stay and work in the state of Georgia can hopefully use their money to pay for cars or apartments or other things instead of paying the federal government back money on an interest rate they can't afford.
A question, I'm sure y'all have talked to President Riley about this, but if there was legislation to pass that allowed y'all to enter the program, what would it cost the state next year?
This, of course,
I'm sure you have rough numbers.
Yes, sir. So this, of course, is an estimated cost projections, and it's going to be on the appendix slide. So
okay,
for tuition equalization, the estimate, again, based on our current enrollment full-time, part-time breakdown, the estimated projection was going to be $641,358 for tuition equalization grant, $244,703 for HOPE, $6,732 for dual enrollment, for a total projected fiscal impact of $892,793. And those were figures that were provided on June 20, 2023 based on our spring enrollment.
okay, thank you. I think Chairman Dempsey has another question.
Did. I lost it. No, looking at those numbers, it kind of escaped me. I know what it is. Talking about the money, and you were talking about how it could help a student perhaps pay a little bit for housing or continue. One of the things that I've learned recently, and particularly over the last 2 years, is that a lot of our institutions, even in our university system, entry-level colleges that are having healthcare programs, at the end, as it gets closer and closer to the end, students are running out of money and they're having to stretch out how long it takes them to graduate. Some are not. Some are having to make a choice between family or even completing that degree. So they are trying to be very innovative and creatively come up with foundation dollars and different things to help in a grant program. So that's where I see this help, is that it can help. It can be the difference between a student just starting a program or actually finishing and graduating and being in the workforce.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee here or online? I'm not seeing any. Thank you all very much for presenting today. We appreciate what y'all do and everything y'all doing to get people in the workforce in Georgia. Y'all doing a great job.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next we have Mr. Pratt, Representative Hersing. Would you like to come address the committee?
Chairman, members, most of what I would say has already been said, so in the interest of time, thank Chairman Dempsey for her leadership and thank the committee. We commend her ability.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. Is anybody else that wishes to address the committee? All right, I'll now open it up to see if any members on the committee here present or on virtually connected, if they have any comments or suggestions or any additional questions at this time. Yep, absolutely. Well, thank y'all. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Representative Glaze.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I just want to ask this to the committee chair, if we can find out what was the intent for the 10-year requirement for the TEG schools that would be, be able to receive them. Can we find out what the intent of that 10 years was?
Yes, ma'am. We'll look into that.
Okay, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Representative Barnes.
I just wanted to say awesome presentation from everyone. I appreciate all the information. Hopefully we can get some of the slides from you guys after the committee meeting is over. And also, I just wanted to say it's an honor to be on this committee, as I'm getting a lot of emails from students who have received these grants and whom otherwise would not be able to attend some of these institutions in our state. So I'm proud of everything that we're doing, and I am really proud of the emails. This is the reward of working for the state. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Barnes, we'll make sure you get these presentations after the meeting today.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for our presenters, President Riley, your team, Mr. Shook. Thank you, committee members, for being here. Just a reminder that our next meeting is October 26th. We'll be sending out information on that. At that meeting, we plan to kind of start wrapping up the ad hoc committee process and bringing together suggestions of if there's any potential report or moving forward with legislation coming out of this committee, which I think from our past meeting and this meeting today, I think there will be some possible legislation that we're going to want to work on moving forward. So thank y'all for being with us this morning. And with that, we stand adjourned.